Hello, YouTube. The cursed ancient settlement is the first location we'll talk about. Sometimes, especially at night, and even when the fog descends, here, as the eyewitnesses tell, or rather we should say ear witnesses, you can catch a quiet bell ringing. Moreover, it doesn't come from a remote church located more than a kilometer away. And who will ring bells at night? But it comes directly from under the ground. Local legend says that there was a church here which, for unknown reasons, in the times of troubles of the Russian history, in the beginning of the 17th century, plunged into the ground overnight together with the priest and parishioners. And where does the ringing come from? Well, one hypothesis, the simpler one, states that the land here is swampy with underground streams, the water of which once in a while will stir up the language of the bells. Another explanation is more exotic, namely that here is a portal between different worlds and different times, and the church fell into this intertemporal or interworld gap, and the ringing can be heard when the portal opens up. Despite the fact that the first mention of Moscow dates back to the year 1147 Common Era, representatives of different cultures have lived here since ancient times. In the west of the modern city is the Kuntsevo district, which has an ancient history dating back to the 6th or 5th centuries before Common Era. This is confirmed by the findings of archaeologists who testify to the population of this area in ancient times. However, over time, negative rumors and sinister legends began to spread around the Kuntsevo Gorodische, or settlement, turning it into a cursed place. And these legends were passed down from generation to generation. The first settlement in Kuntsevo existed without major changes until the 8th century Common Era, or AD. The settlement was located on the upper platform of the cape, but then the inhabitants mastered the slopes, began to build flat ledges, erect houses and workshops, arrange pens for cattle. The first archaeological excavations took place here in the Soviet times, and they were led by Professor Gorodtsov. His work was subsequently continued by the staff of the Museum of History and Reconstruction of the city of Moscow. On the area of 1,200 square meters, they found hundreds of curious finds, found out where the dwellings and the defensive structures were located. Obviously, the inhabitants were constantly in danger of ruin and death as they poured shafts, put stakes, and made deep ditches. Livestock was considered the main value. Most of the bones found belonged to animals that were used for work, domestic labor. In addition, residents were engaged in fishing, hunting, and also mastered metallurgy and the creation of ceramic household items. The place is amazing. 5 minutes ago, you were in the center of civilization, where you had subway, highway, high-rise buildings, and here there is some kind of primevalness, silence and tranquility. No photographs are able to convey the feeling of mystery, the mystery of this place. And this is the Kuntsevo settlement. So archaeologists actually began their excavations here in the 19th century, and the most extensive and latest in time were the archaeological studies of 1972 under the guidance of archaeologist Professor Alexander Wexler. Archaeologists have found a variety of vessels with floral ornaments. There were also things found in the settlement whose origin is not known for certain. For example, strange glass beads. Probably the locals exchanged them with foreigners, offering them furs in exchange. In the ancient village, they were able to cut bones, created hunting arrowheads, needles, and buckles. Jewelry was made of metal, clasps, pendants, and earrings, and dishes and baby rattles in the shape of animals were made of clay. In the documents, the first mention of the lands of Kuntsevo dates back to the 15th century. These territories were owned by representatives of noble families close to the Rurikavich and later to the Romanovs, Mstislavsky, Narishkin, Miloslavsky. The Moscow rulers hunted large prey here, wolves and bears. Now the Kuntsevo settlement in the park of the same name is reminiscent of a cape with moats and earthen ramparts covered with dark soil. The name settlement has been used since the 17th century. It was then that this place began to be called cursed, and for a variety of reasons. One of them was the so-called devil's fingers, the tips of ancient arrows, and also fossilized mollusks of unusual shape. Discovering such finds, Muscovites associated them with otherworldly, paranormal forces. The Kuntsevo settlement was attributed the functions of an ancient pagan temple. This hypothesis was first voiced by archaeologist Ivan Zabelin. In the 1840s, he found out that the residents of the village of Terekhova next to Kuntsevo had a custom. On Trinity Day, they came to the settlement and threw green wreaths into the Moskva River. Zabelin drew attention to the fact that such a simple ceremony could be performed anywhere, but people chose the Kuntsevo settlement. This gave reason to assert that the cursed place played the role of a pagan altar. There's another chilling legend about the settlement. The Church of the Intercession of the Virgin stood here, but disappeared overnight along with the cross. It turned out that it had fallen into the ground to the depth of 50 meters. Why it happened, no one still knows. The most plausible hypothesis is connected with a landslide that happened at the settlement and dragged the building behind it. Moscow hills are already not very stable, and landslides destroy them with incredible speed. Another legend seems to be adjacent to the previous one and says that the famous Moscow fool Ioan Bolshoi Kolpak, or John the Big Hood, predicted the death of Boris Godunov, Russia's Tsar, on the day when the church in Kuntsevo falls underground. The hypothesis about the portal is defended by neo-pagans who claim that through it they say the Finnish people who lived here before the Slavs left here for another time or to a different world. The settlement became widely known in the century before last when the now forgotten writer Mikhail Voskresensky published the novel The Cursed Place, which takes place in 1833, right in that location. Since then, summer residents, meaning those who lived in the country houses in the summer, have rushed to the area. Kuntsevo has become a popular holiday destination since the second half of the last century, and also curious Muscovite travelers. The great Russian artist Alexei Savrasov also visited the area, and he painted from nature this painting, Autumn Forest, Kuntsevo, a Cursed Place. Today, researchers are trying to overcome prejudices about the Kuntsevo settlement and make it an open-air museum. The Cursed Place, according to enthusiasts, has every chance to become a place of attraction for tourists and lovers of antiquities. Getting to it is quite simple. From the subway station Kuntsevskaya, just walk 500 meters along Rublovsky Highway to the entrance to the park. Further along the path, deep into the park and to the left. Between houses 14 and 16 on Rublovsky Highway, the descent to this mysterious, anomalous place begins. And now I will tell you about an area not that far from Moscow and what it contains. In the dense shoot of forest of the Dmitrovsky district of the Moscow region is the Kinyakovo stone, a sacred object that attracts the attention of many people. This boulder, also known as the shoot of stone has an ancient history and is especially important for pagans. However, today it attracts not only believers and those interested, but also tourists, researchers, and local historians who want to reveal its secrets. According to legends, the oldest place of power, place of immense energy, of the Moscow region is located 20 kilometers west of the ancient city of Dmitrov. To see it with your own eyes, to touch the sacred shoot of stone to many and perform the appropriate ritual, it is necessary, after reaching the Klyazma reservoir, to continue driving along the Rogachevsky highway. Having noticed the road sign for the village of Turbichevo, you should turn in its direction and then continuing along the way, wait for the sign with the name of the village of Kinyakovo to appear at the intersection, but it is not necessary to enter this locality. It is worth moving in a straight direction, and very soon the path leading to the shoot of stone will come into view. Stepping on the path winding through a swampy area, you should be extremely careful not to get bogged down in shaky soil, covered with planks in some places. Crossing the bridge over the river and walking a few meters, you can see a small clearing on which the shoot of stone lies. From the city of Dmitrov to the village of Turbichevo you can reach it by bus, and the rest of the way is covered on foot. Pagan sanctuary, located at the confluence of three rivers, the Zolotucha River, the Kimrsha River, and an unnamed stream. The ritual shoot of stone is a megalith, presumably made of gray quartzite. Despite the fact that this 1.5-meter slab of natural origin lies in a swampy area, by strange coincidence, it doesn't sink into the quagmire, but for centuries has attracted pilgrims for ritual worship. Honoring the shoot of stone as a place of power, people organize an improvised sanctuary around it. All the shrubs and trees framing the boulder are hung with ribbons and garments of visitors who believe in the miraculous effect of this ancient landmark. This happens because since pagan times, the shoot of stone has been endowed with life-giving properties, as some people believe. Exploring the boulder in the 1980s, Yuri Zolotov, in the article The Remains of an Ancient Sanctuary on the Kimrsha River, noted that in the old days the Kinyakovo stone may have been revered by people as the incarnation of the god Veles, of the Slavic mythology and Slavic gods. But it became famous as a healer from all kinds of, but above all, children's diseases. Seriously ill children were brought to the stone, making it difficult and sometimes dangerous path in order to cure them of their ailments. To do this, it was necessary to collect water from the rivers flowing there into any container and roll it over the shoot of stone, that is, pouring it over the boulder, put it back into, and then put it back. Having thus charged the water with miraculous power, the pilgrims washed the ailing child with it, dressed him in a clean cloth, and hung the old cloth on the trees surrounding the Kinyakovo stone. According to legend, if a child was destined to recover, then he was quickly healed after ritual ablution. Otherwise, he died rapidly. Some pilgrims believed that the diseases tormenting them would be defeated when the ribbons or garments tied to the branches by them would decay. Nowadays, people come to the shoot of stone to make a wish, and as a thank you, they leave food, coins, and souvenirs at its base. Those who believe in the miraculous power of this boulder try to come to it on the day of the summer solstice, when, according to beliefs, its magical properties and energy are significantly enhanced. Little is known how the shoot of stone appeared near the village of Kinyakovo. Despite the fact that there is no mention of a boulder by this name in any historical source, its admirers believe that the information about the magic stone can be found in the records of the German scientist and traveler Adam Olearius and the Russian historian Vasily Tatishev. Adam Olearius, who lived in the 17th century, in his book Description of the Journey to Muscovy and through the Muscovy to Persia and back, he placed a legend about the ancient stone Alatyr, the father of all stones on the planet. According to his story, in ancient times, some pilgrims from the White Sea brought with them to Moscow the Belgoruch, or white hot stone Alatyr, which was divided into 9 parts. Every fragment of the mighty White Sea stone was buried in the fortress walls of the 9 cities surrounding Moscow. Possessing sacred properties, these particles were supposed to protect the capital of the principality from ruinous wars, captured by foreigners and other evils such as famine, drought, pestilence. Gradually, people began to come to the miraculous stone, which lay near the city of Dmitrov, and asking for healing from ailments. The Russian prince Ivan III also brought his troops there, so that before the attack on the Tatar horde, they acquired the invulnerability and, having won, returned home unharmed. In the 18th century, Tatishev, in the first volume of his work, Russian History, gives a retelling of a certain Iochaim chronicle, in which it is noted that in ancient times a mysterious stone sailed to people along the Kimersha River against its current. This megalith was declared sacred and very quickly gained fame as the place of power. Next to it, rituals of worship of pagan gods and healing rites began to be carried out. The historian attributed to this stone a certain conciliatory force, since 11 of the 80 negotiations of the Russian princes that took place in Dmitrov ended with the conclusion of peace. Such are the tales of paranormal Moscow and its vicinities. I have told you before about the secrets of the Kremlin, of the eerie secrets of the Moscow subway, of the incredible sea under Moscow, and more. You can find my videos in the playlist of this channel. Moscow is an ancient city with many mysteries. And if you like my research, please kindly support it through the links you will find in the description to this video. Please tell others about my channel. Please like my videos and subscribe. And I really appreciate your attention to my work.